Hi, I'm Ann Coulter. Welcome to my Substack. I am back today with my favorite member of Congress, Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky. Welcome, Congressman.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ann.
Well, you know I love you,
It's a
but we
high
had
bar.
such a love fest last time. I thought was dying to talk to you about the things I disagree with you on. And by the way, your nervous Nelly staff kept asking if I was going to spring anything on you. And I said, no, it's going to be on immigration and drugs, and which I disagree with him on. And number two, he's way smarter than I am, so I only have the advantage of being right.
That's funny. I say that I won't debate Matt Gaetz because his ability to convince people to do the wrong thing exceeds my ability to convince people to do the right thing.
Well, he has a very different district, but which reminds me, your district. I happened to notice that you had some very bad votes on immigration issues, and so I looked up your district, Congressman, and
Yes.
you're living in 1950s America. So I've decided not just you, but any members of Congress who do not already live in Los Angeles should not have a say on immigration until you have lived in Los Angeles for at least 2 months, gone to the emergency room, tried to get your kids in school where the entire budget isn't spent on English as a second language. Oh, teach your daughter to drive, where she runs the risk of being smashed into and killed by an illegal alien who drive without insurance and, without the ability to drive.
Well,
But the main, yes, go ahead.
to your point, Mark Twain said he wanted to live in Kentucky when the world ends because everything happens 10 years later in Kentucky.
Exactly.
So you're making an observation that Mark Twain made 100 years ago.
No, your district sounds really, really great, but you got to read the paper about what's going on in Los Angeles. So the biggest issue that faces the entire nation, and will until it gets built, is the wall. And Congressman Massie, you voted against. I mean, it was kind of stupid for Trump to say he needed emergency powers to build the wall. He has the powers to build the wall. But you voted against his invoking an Emergency Powers Act or something to build the wall.
Yeah, I think you're only going to find two controversial votes on immigration. There are only two times that I can find that I have differed from, say, Chip Roy, who might be the most, well known for pursuing, a stronger border policy. And so,
Yes.
and so you've brought up one of them, and I appreciate the chance to defend this vote. I voted for the wall, so you can't say I'm against the wall. I have voted to fully fund the wall in the past, and I will vote for it again. But there was a 2-year period where Paul Ryan was the speaker. By the way, I'm the only Republican who did not vote for Paul Ryan because I saw this coming and other bad things that happened. And Donald Trump was the president. And I have documented this on X, which was formerly known as Twitter, that there were at least a dozen times that Trump signed a spending bill that funded basically all of government. 2 of these were omnibus bills under Paul Ryan, and 10 of them were CRs. And each and every time they neglected to fund the wall.
Yes.
They did not put the money in there for the wall. Now, there was one that did fund the wall. That's the one I voted for, okay? But Paul Ryan didn't pass that one. Republicans didn't send that to Donald Trump. And at some point, Donald Trump started saying, I will never sign another one of these if it doesn't include wall funding. And of course, he just signed every single one of them. Now, it wasn't until we actually lost the majority, I think, that Trump declared this as now an emergency.
Right.
By the way, he was still signing the omnibus bills and the CRs that didn't have a wall in it.
Yes.
So he then said, well, this is an emergency. And so now I will reappropriate money that Congress appropriated and that I agreed with, I being Donald Trump. The president signed these bills that did not fund his wall, and then he declared it an emergency and so what was that? It was an emergency that he signed a bill that didn't fund the wall? Like, my problem is that if we give up the power of the purse, and Joe Biden tries to do this too, that for any aspect, it's bad enough right now. We're going to send them an omnibus here this month. It'll be in 2 halves, right? But at least inside of that omnibus, we're directing money here and there. And I just don't believe that Joe Biden, Barack Obama, or Donald Trump should have the authority to take money that's appropriated for one purpose and use it for another, because that's our biggest strength as an independent branch of government.
You just reminded me when he declared that national emergency after, as you say, signing bill after bill after bill with no wall funding when we had a Republican House and a Republican Senate. So don't tell me, Trumpsters, he tried. No, he didn't try. He's a complete ignoramus. And I forget exactly the vicious term I applied to him, but it was something like, the only national emergency we have is that our president is retarded. And that is a national emergency, but that is no reason to punish the country, Representative Massie. And my argument is, I think this should appeal to you as a constitutionalist. We've gotten so far away from the actual job of the President of the United States. It seems perfectly normal that the president can, as commander-in-chief, fling troops around the world, send them to, well, we had some war authorization for Afghanistan, but send them to Jordan, send them to Africa. I'm sorry, even Reagan sending them to Grenada, though I supported that. But it seems like beyond the pale for the commander-in-chief, whose number one job is to use the military to defend, what is it against, again, the United States, can't build a wall on our border. No, that's his numero uno job. But the commander-in-chief powers, they haven't been used appropriately for a century now? At first, what the defense of America was used for was to build fortresses and walls and, fortifications along our own border, and not to go in search of wars abroad. So I agree that he didn't need national emergency powers other than the national emergency of our president being a dunderhead. But he does have the power. He always had the power. He has the power under the Constitution. Just say, I have the power, and build the wall. if pirates came, we know that that's part of the commander-in-chief powers without going to Congress for an appropriation. We know if an American is taken abroad, the president has authority as commander-in-chief to deploy the military to get that American back. And if we have an invasion on our actual border, that's like black letter constitutional law. Of course, the president has the authority to build a wall on our border.
Well, he certainly has the authority to deploy the troops there. In fact, I wouldn't say the authority has the obligation and the responsibility. We're being invaded, okay? But when we spend money, when Congress spends money, I think it is derelict of the president to take money that we have directed and spend it somewhere else. I had a breakfast with Antonin Scalia once. There were a dozen Republican congressmen who were worried that Barack Obama had taken too much power from the legislative branch. So at breakfast, they asked Scalia, what will you do to restore the constitutional balance of government? Now, remember, at this time, John Boehner was the speaker, and we were in the majority, and we had a good, healthy majority. But Obama seemed to be running roughshod over us. And Scalia told us all, and I was cheering in my heart when he was lecturing my colleagues. He said, look, it's not my job to referee fights between you and the other branch. You're perfectly, well endowed by the Constitution to solve this problem. And one of my colleagues said, but impeachment is so difficult. Like, it backfires on you politically in the House, and then when you get to the Senate, it's too high of a threshold. And Scalia said, I'm not talking about impeachment. I'm talking about the power of the purse. You all have the power of the purse. You are the most powerful branch because of that. So quit. He didn't, I'm paraphrasing now, but basically he said, quit whining and start doing something using the power of the purse.
You can watch complete episodes of Unsafe with Ann Coulter by subscribing to anncoulter.substack.com. That's anncoulter.substack.com. You can also listen to complete episodes for free at Ricochet.com. Choose Unsafe from the pull-down menu at the top of the page. That's Ricochet.com, your home for civil center right conversation on the web.